4's Company, Saturday mornings, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger, financial planning for tomorrow so that you can enjoy today. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman alongside you this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we on this fine Saturday morning?
Relaxed. I mean, we've had, a month and a half of just nonstop basketball, nonstop sports. And now it's all over. I'm a little sad about it, but I'm relaxed.
Yeah, it's draft season. It's baseball season. Hockey season ends in the next week.
Golf.
We do get into Stanley Cup playoffs, which will be fun.
Robbie Stanley would kill me if I didn't say golf.
Yes. Great golf going on this weekend out at Augusta.
Gotta love that golf.
Yeah,
love that golf.
All about it.
I think this morning feeling pretty good. Got a new ceiling fan. So
there you go.
Yeah,
did you put it in yourself?
No, I did not. I helped put it in, but no, I did not put it in myself. No, I've realized from the old ceiling fan to the new one, I'm sleeping a lot better. I can breathe when I wake up in the morning. So I don't know what that's about.
Do you like it cold or warm?
Oh, I'm a cold guy.
Me too.
Cold guy.
When I stay in a hotel, I immediately just bring it down to 65 degrees. And because you can always put another blanket on.
Yeah, no, I want it cold enough to where I have to get another blanket.
Right. And you just wake up feeling all cozy.
Yeah.
It's great.
Got a nice blanket. But as for sports, my baseball high has come down to about sea level for the most part.
Yeah.
Me too, pal.
The Cardinals have decided to come back down to earth. They're not the best team in baseball. I already knew that. I just got my hopes up all for nothing. But they beat the Phillies, which is kind of nice.
That's okay. You know what next weekend is?
What is that?
WrestleMania.
Indeed. You know what? I was going to tell you something for the show. I saw something on Peacock about WrestleMania and a documentary or something.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I'll send it to you after the show. But yeah, sports are back, ready to go. You guys, Manly Seagulls lost last night. Upset.
Dang it!
Yeah, unfortunate. My Brisbane Broncos lost on Thursday or Friday night.
Why'd you tell me the result? I had it recorded. I was going to watch when I get home.
About to. I was going to spend my whole night watching the Manly Seagulls.
Sorry about that. But other than that, I'm great. That's it.
What about the Nuke?
Oh, Luke the Nuke Littler?
Yeah.
They had professional or Premier League darts this past week. I didn't catch a lot of it. I know there was Gerwin Price. I think his name is Jason Gerwin Price. He was a former rugby guy, actually.
And, worlds collide.
Wow.
He had a beautiful 9-darter the other day. Incredible. I think he won night 4, night 5 of Premier League of darts.
One day I just want to go to the Frazier household and just watch random.
Yeah.
Just
they don't have random. ESPN or
I feel like you're
MLB
a big
Network.
Ocho guy.
Yeah, they got the Ocho.
You're a big Ocho guy.
Love the Ocho. Cornhole. My uncle. So my uncle for my dad's birthday about 3 years ago made him a chipping cornhole thing for golf.
Oh, yep.
I was like,
my dad has that too.
My Uncle Eddie, I was like, hey, congrats, Uncle Eddie. That was pretty good.
That's another thing. It's cornhole season. I can go play cornhole now.
Yeah.
I love cornhole.
Weather's getting good.
So that's me. Odd sports, I'm all about it.
I am excited for next week's show because not only WrestleMania, I know Connor's gonna have a lot to talk about with that. Gonna make some predictions probably again.
Maybe. Christian and I, we haven't been doing it lately because of the tournament, but we do the podcast and hopefully that will be up on the air soon on this station. Hopefully,
love it
with a WrestleMania special. But yeah, I'll sprinkle in some WrestleMania next week too.
There we go. And just as we did in our first ever show, so it'll be a year next week, right?
Yeah.
Is that our year anniversary of
we
doing
should go
4's
get
Company?
dinner or something.
We should
Just us
go
three.
celebrate
on a Blackstone.
Yeah.
Where do we go? Where do we go? Martin's last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
again.
Edley's. Yeah.
Edley's. Let's do it again.
Yeah. And I will be bringing back the draft simulator.
Oh, yes.
We'll have some GMs calling
and
into
the phone
show
calls
next week.
Yes.
You know what? Maybe I'll put together a new open for 1 year.
There we go.
At 9:45.
I love it.
Okay.
1 year celebration. Maybe I'll make a compilation of my most out of pocket moments that are probably not safe for air.
Probably not. But you know what? That's what makes it great.
Yes. That is what makes our show run. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Let's jump into some more headlines here. We've already touched on a few things. Connor Newt, do you have a headline for us this morning?
I mean, I've been watching John Gruden's QB class lately.
Oh.
Not really a headline, but That's fantastic if you haven't watched it.
Really?
It is hilarious.
It seems like he's kind of gone off the rails.
He's insane, but he's funny. I mean, he says some pretty insightful, like he's had Will Howard on the other day. He's a quarterback guru. So it's kind of interesting to watch. He had Riley Leonard 2 days ago. I think he's got a few more. Jackson Dart is coming. Tyler Shaw. There's one thing all those quarterbacks have in common, and it is not their play style. But it's been fun to watch. I mean, it's getting me ready for draft season. I had another one, but I think I'm going to save that for 9:45. I want to go deep into that.
All right.
But John Gruden. Plus, he's got all those unboxing videos that are hilarious.
The only thing I've seen from John Gruden lately was the video of him singing Pink Pony Club with a bunch of girls in a hotel room. So I was thinking.
Isn't he married?
I believe so.
No clue.
To a former Tennessee cheerleader, if I'm not mistaken.
All the girls were like they were like Barstool people.
Okay.
It wasn't
probably
like
a
just
Barstool.
random. It was like all those people.
Interesting.
But yeah, I kind of thought he's starting to lose his mind a little bit.
Maybe, or he's just trying to be one of those people that just gets made fun of in memes all the time. On
that was another
media.
thing he said. He said he is very interested in returning, or not returning, but going to the University of Tennessee to be a graduate assistant.
Oh, wow.
I think he was on the Mike Keith podcast.
At the right,
yes, he was. Yeah.
At the ripe age of 60.
Yes. GA, John Gruden, former Super Bowl champion head coach.
Maybe that's
I
what
love
Tennessee
the
needs.
volunteers.
If you think about it, now that everything is kind of unfolded, maybe that's what Tennessee needs.
We're going to talk a lot about Tennessee coming up here in hour number 1.
A little bit of breaking news.
Yes. Jake Wallman, good morning. What is your headline?
I think you know what my headline is.
It better not be.
Well, we're getting to that in the next segment.
40 minutes.
I mean, I won't. I guess I won't dive too much into
Is
it.
it about Ronald Acuna?
I think you're missing the point of a headline.
Yeah.
A headline is a thing that we do not address throughout the rest of the show.
I guess I don't have one.
Marcell Ozuna's home run the other day.
All of Jake Wallman's attention has been on the Nico Iamaleava situation.
Marcell Ozuna hit a walk-off the
He
other
did
day.
hit a walk-off. And then did you see the guy that was in full Braves? Using like a full Braves uniform.
Yeah.
And it looked like it looked like Marcell Ozuna, but he was like 20 years older.
Really?
Yeah.
Full beard and all?
I did see
He
that.
had the beard, he had the sunglasses, he had the arm sleeve, everything.
He sat through the entire 3-hour rain delay in full uniform.
We were here. I was doing Preds the other day, and Parker Kelly put it on. He's a Braves guy. I was like, hey, just put it on. That game ended after we got off the air.
Yeah.
And our game dropped puck at 8.
Yep.
Holy cow.
And, the Braves winning that game had me getting up yesterday thinking, this team may be all right. And then they lose 6-3 last night.
Could be worse.
Welcome to all the pain of a Cardinals fan, too. That's what happens.
The Red Sox lost 11-1 to the White Sox last night.
Let's go.
Battle of the Sox.
Go Sox, go.
Since I don't think we're going to get to it at all in the show, do want to mention the Masters. One of the best, a tradition unlike any other.
Yes.
It is one of the best weekends of the year. I'm not going to be able to watch much of it today, but I'm hoping I'll get to watch pretty much the whole final round on Sunday. It's the best.
I'm glad you guys enjoy it.
Tomorrow's the only round you want to watch anyways, right?
I mean, I watched, I
Really?
wasn't hardcore paying attention over the last 2 days, but I had it on pretty much from the start of the coverage to the end, just on in the background doing other things, but watching throughout the day. It's setting up to be a great weekend at Augusta. Justin Rose has the lead, but you've got a lot of the heavy hitters across golf. Rory's in the mix. Scotty Scheffler's in the mix. Bryson DeChambeau is just one stroke back. If it comes down to those four down the stretch, I think it's going to be a great Sunday at Augusta tomorrow.
I agree. I think it's one of those that's going to be down to the finish. I don't know why, but this Masters has a feeling to me of when Bubba Watson had that shot out of the weeds, out of the pine. Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe I'm getting out of this Masters tournament. And to see possibly Scotty Scheffler go back-to-back, first time since, I think, Tiger Woods since what? Middle 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around that.
Something like that.
So, I mean, that'd be incredible to see. It really would. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind seeing a live golfer win the Masters, but I don't know. I'm a purist at heart.
Want to hear something crazy?
Sure.
That might be the first golf thing you guys have said that I understand everything you just said.
How about that?
Wow.
That. I understand. I've been around Robbie Stanley a lot this year. He's been not teaching me, but I've picked up on some of the lingo.
Yeah. It's like you're in a Spanish class and your teacher's just only speaking Spanish and you're forced to learn it.
Now, will I forget all of it next week?
Sure.
Probably, but it's the thought that counts.
Indeed. Indeed it is.
I kind of like Rory McIlroy to win this one. This will be his 40th master or 40th major start since his last win. Yesterday, the wheels kind of fell off, or no, towards the end on Thursday, the wheels kind of fell off.
He shot great yesterday.
Yesterday, shot out of the pine straw, put it to like 8 feet, knocked in an eagle putt, and then on the next hole.
Now I don't understand anything.
Next hole, he hit like gallery on either side and knocked it out of the trees onto the green. Those are the shots where I know Tiger did the commercial a couple years ago where it's like they did the mannequins out there and just had the average golfer try and hit out of it. I don't know how they do that with the patrons on both sides of you and have to hit. I would kill somebody.
Yeah. I think it was round 1 or round 2. Scotty Scheffler was hitting like out of the semi rough, the fringe, I guess you could call it. And he was like, hey, just scoot back a little bit. And he was laughing like, yeah, if you guys just want to stay there and get hit, that's fine by me.
Right.
I was like, are you kidding me? It's insane. And the fact that he's so pure with this shot, too. It doesn't matter if they're from me to you. He could still stripe it down the middle.
Right.
I
forget.
so lost. I don't know what's going on.
Talking about shots out of the rough, out of the bad grass.
Was it
humanize that, my man?
So the grass is taller than the fairway. So that grass that you're hitting out of.
Keep going.
And that's where the fans normally stand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they're having the fans scoot back or out of his direction towards the pin, the golf pin, the hole. So they don't want to hit people.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Golfers
you don't want to kill the patrons.
I feel so.
The patrons, yes. I've been well versed about that on a podcast.
If you ever want to get me out of a conversation, just start talking about this, and I won't have any idea what the hell you're talking about.
Well,
you'll catch on.
Did you see? Was it Joaquin Neiman yesterday? There was like a yard in between two bunkers, and he just ran it up the fairway and just scooted it up onto the green between there. These guys are so good.
I did not see that.
It's so impressive, some of the things that they do. So excited for a fun weekend at Augusta. We're not going to get too much into the Masters today. Coming up, breaking news: Nico Iamaleava, Tennessee quarterback, will not return to the Vols. Apparently, Tennessee has decided to move on from the junior quarterback. So we'll talk about that coming up. But first, Connor Newt, you have our question of the day today.
Sure. Yeah. I was thinking about this on the drive in. Sports are cool. That's it.
Astute.
Just an astute observation. But what interests me about sports is the history that goes into it. Some of the biggest marquee plays that kind of build the foundations of where the game is today. So my question is, you can go back in time to any moment in sports history. I don't care what sport, you can go back anywhere. What is that moment?
It's a good question. We will get to our answers coming up at 10. I guess I'll give mine before I skip out of here around 10.
I was going to do you like golf? But
it's a good...
That's very straightforward.
A lot of yeses and nos coming in on the text line. Instead, our question of the day: what is a moment in the past, if you could go back and see it live in sports history, what would it be? You can text or call 615-737-1025. Again, we'll give our answers coming up at 10 o'clock. But as I mentioned, coming up next, we got some breaking news. Pete Thamel of ESPN reporting that Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava will not return to the Vols. The Vols are moving on after spring practice. We'll get into that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman, 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in today to 102.5 The Game for Vanderbilt baseball as the Commodores face Oklahoma. Pregame begins at 3:45. First pitch is at 4. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you this morning. 4's company. Getting into the breaking news, came out a little over 20, 30 minutes ago from Pete Thamel of ESPN that Nico Iamaleava, Tennessee's starting quarterback, will not return to the Vols. Tennessee moving on after Iamaleava was rumored to have tried to renegotiate his NIL deal, skip practice yesterday, and on the day of their spring game, they now do not have their quarterback one. Big news, guys, across the SEC, and maybe something that we're going to start to see more of over the years is before this spring transfer portal opens, the last chance for these guys to get out and get to a new school before the fall football season starts. Some of these guys might try and renegotiate their deals. Nico, the first to do it, and it looks like Tennessee going to have to turn somewhere else. Nico going to be a highly recruited player over the next couple of weeks as he looks for a new home.
Honestly, good for Tennessee.
I agree.
Nico, I heard Jared refer to him as a stripper yesterday, which I am not going to do, but good for him. Nico came in, demanded, what was it, $5 million? Money
$4 million, I think.
Around that area. Yeah. Money that, honestly, I think a lot of people across the nation, and obviously Tennessee, don't think he's worth. Tennessee reportedly never blinked, wanted to negotiate, obviously, but always were like, we're not giving you that much. Nico's daddy goes and blasts the media, makes him look worse. I mean,
it was so funny that he blasts the media, basically calls it fake news, and then the next day Nico skips practice. It's like, all right, you can't put that out there if it's true.
I mean, he got some horrible advice.
Yeah,
from his family, from his agent, his whole side of the party is just horrible advice.
Financial advisors, however you want to look at it.
Whatever you want to look at. I'm guessing college players have agents now, which is mind-boggling. But I know Tennessee is now in a situation where they don't necessarily have their QB1. We were talking about it off the break, or out, whatever you want to say.
During the break.
During the break, sorry. George McIntyre coming in 5-star. I personally don't think he is starting quarterback caliber in the SEC ready yet.
Especially not as a true freshman.
Not as a true freshman. Jake Merklinger, I guess, would be the number one option as of right now. You have to wonder how many guys are going to jump into the spring portal and say, hey, Tennessee is a position I'd like to have. But as of right now, you're looking at Jake Merklinger. Kind of a result of your decision you just made, but I still think it's the right decision for Tennessee. Not paying that much money for a quarterback who may or may not have a bounce back season. I tend to think Nico is going out west. Frazier said that.
Closer to home.
Yeah. I could see him. I think you said, what'd you say? Colorado is recruiting him.
Yeah, I'd guess
USC
would probably be like, that feels like a Lincoln Riley move, right?
Mm-hmm.
To go bring him back to Southern California.
Ohio State, I think, was a mention too.
Yeah.
They won't do it. They're starting that Julian Sayin kid.
Yeah, and they also just saw what Nico looks like in a college football playoff game firsthand.
They cracked his helmet. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think Nico's good, and honestly, I think this is a horrible decision for him because heading into this year, he was not a Heisman candidate, but I would say he was a dark horse kind of guy that
he had a great start to the season,
right?
When they were playing,
if this season,
St. Henry Middle School,
if he came out and got off to a great start, I could see him moving into the top 5 in Heisman odds or top 3 or whatever it is. And maybe even a guy that starts to slip towards first round of mock drafts of next year, because we've talked about it when talking about Cam Ward. Next year's quarterback class, yes, there's a lot of guys that are kind of maybes, but there's nobody who stands out. And maybe Nico could have been that guy, but I don't know at this point. I think NFL teams are not going to be too pleased with seeing this out of guy. And if he balls out and looks like a first overall pick, no one's going to blink an eye, but I don't know. I can't imagine this is a good decision for him in his NFL future.
Well, then you shift. I'm sorry, Frazier.
No, please go ahead.
Then the narrative, if he balls out, is, well, why'd Tennessee let him walk? He's worth the $5 million. But as of right now, I still think Tennessee made the right call. I think Josh Heupel especially made the right call, saying I believe he was the one that came out and said it. Nico is no longer with the team. He's no longer our quarterback. Good for them. Honestly, like that is a big boy move from Josh Heupel, and
It is.
good for him.
I think the number one thing that comes in my mind, and it's going to sound, some people might agree, disagree, Caleb Williams, same sort of trajectory, path, and career. Was at Oklahoma, leaves a big school and goes to USC, still a big school, but yet when you go out into the West Coast, in my opinion, I feel like your gusto and your stock is lost for a good duration of time. And then when the playoff comes around, then your name starts to gravitate, go into the big media. So to me, it's almost like Nico's taking the Caleb Williams approach.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Caleb Williams performed well at Oklahoma, but when Nico was at Tennessee for this one solid season he was taking advantage of those smaller schools like the NC States of the world. And so now you go out west and you play with USC, it's my thought process. If you were to do that, it would honestly, I think, help out his NFL draft stock. And he'd be considered one of the glamour picks of the next year's draft, like one of the top quarterbacks, because the quality of talent you're taking on in the West Coast, you're passing the game a lot more, or you're passing the ball a lot more because you're able to exploit your talents. That's the way I look at it. I think it'd be it's beneficial for both parties, honestly, because he's going to get that West Coast money if he were to go out that way. In my opinion, too, I think the Vols can easily find another quarterback that's not on their roster right now, easily, because you're going to get a lot of second string quarterbacks. Hell, look at Kyle McCord last year. He left Ohio State and went to Syracuse and did a really good job. I think that can happen with Tennessee this season.
I think you are going to see quarterbacks who are stuck behind guys at other places hop in the portal right now. Just might as well see if you can go get that Tennessee job. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Vols do and where Nico ends up. But I think if I had to guess, I think USC is probably
I think out west
the safest bet. Gunner on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, "Are the Vols moving on or Nico? That wording just saves Tennessee's face."
Depends on who you ask.
The wording from Pete Thamel says Tennessee is moving on because he got that report from Tennessee. If Nico had gone to Pete Thamel and said, "We're going into the portal," I think the wording on that report would have been different. But Tennessee, it's like you can't fire me, I quit, that kind of thing.
I mean, listen to this. In 13 games, Nico had 213 completions on 334 attempts. That's good for 63%, 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Is that worth $5 million to you?
No.
Is that worth $3 million to you?
I mean, Carson Beck just got $4 million.
Yeah.
And he was horrendous last year.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much a widely considered pick to be the number 1 overall pick for this draft. And then he hits the portal. He's not even in it.
Yeah.
He was that bad. So I'm not.
So it's the market. People are going to pay big money for quarterbacks who have talent. Like Carson Beck, even though he was horrible this year, he's still a very talented guy and he could figure it out. That's what Miami's hoping for. I think somebody's going to give Nico that kind of money. But it's all going to be interesting. And I think this could end up being a trend as we see the NIL era continue to take over college football. We'll continue to talk about this on the other side. Tune into 94.9 The Fan tonight as the Nashville Sounds take on the Memphis Redbirds. Pregame begins at 6:20. First pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. 4's Company on this Saturday morning. Coming back, talking more about the breaking news that Nico Iamaleava, quarterback for Tennessee, is moving on, or Tennessee's moving on from him, however way you want to think about it. But he will not be the starting quarterback for Tennessee next year. We'll continue to talk about it here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for NASCAR tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Sports Talk 830. Engines will rev up for the Cup Series Food City 500 race. Race coverage will begin at 1 o'clock Central. Coverage also available at the Game Nashville app and thegamenashville.com. Great choice, Jake Wallman. We love some Three Doors Down.
Without you, baby.
This is in no reference to Nico, by the way.
I don't know.
Three Doors Down, just sidetrack, one of the most underrated bands of all
yeah.
time. They've got so many great songs.
Gym tunes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the old stuff is good. Here Without You, Kryptonite.
When I'm Gone.
Well,
That's my bench song.
they're
I've got all those three.
I guess they're all kind of old stuff.
I mean,
It's Not My Time. That's a
Oh.
great one.
They are what Creed thinks they are.
Yeah. Three Doors.
Whoa. Let's not get into any Creed hate here.
Three Doors
I'm not a
Down and
Creed guy.
Daughtry.
Yeah.
If you want some good dad rock, sign me up.
I'm all about the dad rock, man.
Anyway,
It's my style.
4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman. Still talking about the Nico Iamaleava situation here. Pete Thamel reporting that Tennessee has decided to move on from Nico Iamaleava after he demanded more money, and now it looks like he's going to be hitting the transfer portal. I did want to mention this. I just saw this on Twitter, which is very important for Nico and for Tennessee. Here is a rule for transferring within the Southeastern Conference. A transfer student, including a graduate transfer from a member institution, may be eligible for intercollegiate competition during the individual's initial academic year in residence at another member institution, provided the student provides written notification of transfer to the institution within their sport's regular NCAA transfer window immediately following the sports championship segment. Yes. So that means that if Nico had hit the portal right after the season ended in the winter window, he would be eligible if he transferred to an SEC school. However, since he's entering in the spring window, he cannot go to another SEC school and be immediately eligible. It also means that Tennessee's next quarterback cannot come from an SEC school either. So they will have to look outside the Southeastern Conference if anybody is going to transfer in to try and take that job.
I don't know if I like that rule because, like, the SEC is eating up half the nation with colleges, Power 5 schools.
Well, it used to be in a lot of conferences that transfers have to sit out a year no matter what.
Right.
And if you transfer within your conference, you have to sit out 2 years. That's what the ACC used to be. I know that.
Making progress.
So it's a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
It puts a little wrench in Tennessee's plans because a lot of the most talented players are in the SEC. So if they are going to find a new quarterback in the transfer portal, it'll have to come from outside of the Southeastern Conference if they're going to play immediately this year.
I like it. I like that. It makes sense. It's a little bit of a guardrail on the wild, wild west, as we call. But here's what I like about this the most. In the NFL, it takes a lot for a guy to get out of his contract and to negotiate. And, you got to go through the whole trading process. In college, they can just say, as Nick Frazier says, why don't you say it?
Bye.
Bye. They can just say goodbye.
Bye.
Which is exactly what they did.
I am a leaving.
I am a leaving, as On3 just put out there.
Oh,
But I like that SEC rule.
Yeah.
It seems more like a league policy than an actual NCAA policy. But I like that that's how that works. I can't go and say, hey, Tennessee, let's go get the kid out of South Carolina that looks like Steve Urkel.
Oh, Sellers.
Yeah, Lenora Sellers.
Yeah.
We can't go and take the best quarterback he's not the best quarterback. Hey, Arch Manning, why don't you come home and play for good old Rocky Top? They can't do that. Now, like Nico, maybe they go out west. Maybe they go look at some of these G5 guys. Arizona State's got a solid quarterback that may want to come over
Sam
here.
Leavitt.
Yeah. Penn State, Drew Aller. I don't think he'd leave.
I think he probably signed a pretty big NIL agreement to come back and not go into the draft.
I'm just throwing random names out
but
there.
I think group of 5, honestly, I think that makes the most sense. You can go steal a starting quarterback from a group of 5 team that has experience and can immediately hop in and play. I don't know if you're really going to improve that position all that much if you go get a backup at, USC
Might
or
as well
Oregon
trot
or something
Jake
like that.
Merklinger, yeah.
Right. Because they have the same amount of experience playing. But if you could go get a proven guy at one of the better group of 5 schools, I'm trying to think.
Colorado did this past offseason.
Right. Yeah.
With Caden Salter from Liberty.
Yes, from Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
So something like that. I think maybe that could be the way that Tennessee goes.
Nick Vadiato. Come on down.
Experienced guy from right down the road. I don't think so, though. I heard Derek Mason on with Chase and Big Joe, and they talked about him a little bit, and that dude seems to be bleeding blue till he dies.
He was on right after that, actually.
Oh, really?
Too.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, it was Derek Mason and then Nick Vadiato at like 9:45 that day. So they're at a Champions Run golf course. Very nice golf course.
Yeah.
Fun to play at.
Yeah, I think Tennessee, they're going to go into the portal. Whether they think Merklinger can be the starting quarterback or not, it can't hurt to bring in somebody with some experience. But I am going to guess that they're going to go experienced guy from a group of 5 instead of a backup from somewhere else. But it does put them in a bind here because you kind of built everything up around Nico over the last few years.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to Vols fans from the moment he committed to a week ago, it was that Nico was going to be the savior and he was going to be the one that takes Tennessee back to the national championship conversation. Well, he played 1 year and he got blown out in the first round of the college football playoff. And now he's gone.
To me, this whole situation is an example of the failures of NIL. Tennessee may have benefited from cutting Nico, but look at the other side. Nico was given, we just touched on it, some horrible, horrible advice.
Yeah, really bad.
From his father, from his family, from his NIL agency, whatever the hell he's using. How is that going to benefit him going into the portal? Is he going to go over to USC or wherever and be like, well, they wouldn't pay me $5 million. Now I'm demanding, my price just went up. If you want me to be the starting quarterback, give me $7 million.
Yeah.
Is that he's getting bad enough advice to do that?
And I'm sure that somebody is going to pay a decent amount of money to get Nico, but you also have to wonder, a lot of these programs have already gone through spring with somebody that they believe is their starting quarterback. Are they really going to say, like, I'm sure USC, I don't know exactly who their starting quarterback is this year, but I'm sure that he is a highly rated player from something.
Mm-hmm.
USC doesn't bring in a whole lot of 2-stars. So are you going to tell that guy, hey, sorry, Nico's going to come in here and you're going to sit on the bench? Because then he's going to go in the portal. So some of these teams may say, you know what? Yeah, Nico may be marginally better than what we already have, but we feel like this guy can be better over the next 2 years than Nico's going to be this year. So we're good. You wonder if Nico kind of gets left without a chair to sit at.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at USC, Miller Moss is their top
Okay, so Miller Moss
prospect.
is still there? I didn't know. I thought maybe he
was a junior last
Gotcha.
season, so he'll be a
So-
senior this year.
I think Nico's better than Miller Moss.
Yes.
But is it enough to pay $5 million to go get him? I don't know.
For a USC, I think it's a no-brainer situation.
Really?
I think any West Coast team, if they can get a marquee name, they will pay any amount of money. It's like the Los Angeles Dodgers. They will pay whatever amount of money you want to get your number one Japanese player on that baseball field. Same thing for football. Same thing for USC. If you think of USC, what do you think about? Like, as for one key name, what is it? It can go back to the 2000s.
Matt
Bingo.
Leinart.
Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. That's all you got to really hold on to. Maybe Caleb Williams as of recent years. But then you grab a name like Nico Iamaleava, boom, they're back on the map.
Especially in a deep Big Ten.
Yes.
They've been looking to get over. They haven't gotten over. What did they finish? 6-6, 7-6. They won their bowl game against A&M. They need to get over, especially to compete with the other teams that came over with them. Oregon, Washington has kind of fallen off, but you want to be in Ohio State. You want to be Michigan. You want to get back to relevancy and compete with your rival, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Maybe go land the marquee quarterback.
Yeah. And it's not just Nico, all right? Like, if you go and grab a Nico for, say you sign him for $5 million, in my opinion, if I'm USC, it creates a domino effect. You're getting 4 or 5-star transfer wide receivers from other top colleges.
That's true.
Like, that's what you're going to go into. It's not just going to be, oh, we're getting Nico Iamaleava and we're going to build with him what we got out of our scouting through freshman and sophomore. No, we're getting guys that are not pro ready, but that are Saturday morning ready to play with Nico Iamaleava. Like, you got to think about that.
Yeah.
And also, too, to the whole Nico point, I think he is the guinea pig for all of this right now. I think he's obviously, this is the first of its kind, in my opinion, to see what Nico's asking for. But it also makes me wonder if there is a free agent. I'm going to use a wide receiver, for example. Say there's a free agent wide receiver in the NFL that signs for, I don't know, 5 or 4 years, $10 million a year, right? Say there is a junior or senior in college football that is draft eligible. That's like, you know what? I'm as good as that guy in the NFL. What if my talents are about the same equivalent as that guy?
Yeah.
Maybe my value is almost the equivalent to whatever that guy's asking for in the NFL.
Like Jeremiah Smith or something like that.
And that will then reset the wide receiver market in the NIL value in college. And I think that's going to cause a big issue going forward in college sports.
Yeah, you make a good point that however Nico's situation turns out is going to decide whether this becomes a trend moving forward or whether it kind of stops with Nico. If Nico does get $5.5 million and ends up at USC and has a really good year with them and they go to the playoff, I think we're going to see a lot more of this, of these quarterbacks trying to leverage their own schools into more money or hitting the spring portal. But let's say Nico goes out there and a lot of these big name programs, they're like, we'll stick with what we got. We don't need to spend $5 million to get you in here. And he ends up going to Duke. I don't know, just a random Power 5 school that isn't going to compete for a championship. I think a lot of other quarterbacks and big name players might be scared to enter the spring portal because, again, it's musical chairs. You might get left without a spot at one of the big name programs where you have a chance to go compete for a college football playoff. So I don't know. We're going to find out over the next couple of weeks with Nico on how intense his recruitment is going to be from some of these big name schools and if he's able to get that money that he was trying to leverage out of Tennessee. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. It's time for the 4th annual 615 Open Charity Golf Tournament benefiting Folds of Honor, presented by Gary Force Acura. Cromwell Media, along with partners Fox 17, Outfront Media, and Social Indoor, are proud to announce we'll be back at Hermitage Golf Course on Thursday, May 29th to make a difference while having a great time. You can join us and a few guest media members, athletes, and musicians as we raise money for Folds of Honor. Donations will go to provide life-changing scholarships to families of America's fallen or disabled military and first responders. Sign up to play or sponsor at 615open.com. 4's Company rolling along on this Saturday morning. It's 9:45 on a Saturday.
Timeout. Let's forgo that. Let's postpone it to 10:15.
Okay.
And keep on this Nico thing.
Okay, we're going to stick with Nico then. No Newt's notes in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll get to those at 10:15 after I have to depart. So we'll stick with the NIL transfer portal topic here on the other side. 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you on this Saturday morning, reacting to the breaking news. Pete Thamel of ESPN reporting that Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava will not be with the team going forward. Tennessee deciding to move on after Nico tried to leverage the program for a little bit more NIL money, a lot more NIL money, and he is going to hit the portal in the spring window. We talked about it a little during the break, guys. Spring games going on across the country today, including just down the road at First Bank Stadium with Vanderbilt. You can listen in 12:45 pregame coverage, 1 o'clock kick in that game. Do we think spring games could be going by the wayside over the next couple of years? I believe I saw that none of the SEC spring games are going to be televised this year.
What's the point?
Right. I think it's – Clark Lee said that they're doing a spring game because they're not going to operate scared. They're not going to operate in fear, which I understand. But also, I think it doesn't really help the program at all to televise it and just give other programs an inside look at, oh, man, look at that freshman wide receiver that Vandy's got. Let's see if we can offer him.
It also provides you extra game film.
Right.
If Georgia State, for example, is watching Vanderbilt's spring game, they can look at some of the plays that they're throwing out there.
That's a good point.
Now, I mean, Vanderbilt's probably not throwing out some super complex stuff, but
they're not unloading the playbook.
No one's running a triple option, but they can still look at, hey, look at this wide receiver on the outside. We got to stack the box on him and, get going on that. Teams pick up on plays. You're just providing extra game film. So I think that's part of the reason why spring games, the tradition of spring games, great tradition, but there's nothing you can accomplish in a spring game that you can't accomplish in a normal practice.
Right.
And also, too, I look at it from a business standpoint. You have leagues now like the UFL, the Indoor Football League, the AF1, stuff like that. All that's getting more television prompt where they're getting contract deals that way. And you've seen on SEC Network, ACC Network, Big Ten Network, all that stuff. They would be doing more of those spring games. Now they don't have to because they're subleasing them out to those other football leagues that are currently in season. So I think that's another reason why you're not seeing them on the screen as much. And also, too, like y'all are stating, like that nobody really cares about them. And two, teams, especially head coaches, they're just showing base offenses.
Right.
Like y'all are talking about. It's just base offense. You're not doing anything flashy. Like, come on.
There's no RPOs being ran.
No.
Maybe a little bit, but not some complex, we're going to pitch it off to the running back. Running back's going to heave it down the field kind of stuff.
I think most of it's for the players. It's the culmination of the hard work they've done in the spring. You get to get out there in front of a crowd and get to show off a little bit. And a lot of it is just for the fans to come out and, especially for a program like Vanderbilt, where you're coming off such a successful season, fans get to come out, they get to support them with still 4 months to go until the season starts. I'm interested about what the vibe in Neyland is going to be like today.
Based on what I'm hearing from some of my friends and some of my sources, they agree with us. This was the right call for Tennessee.
I think everybody agrees that Tennessee shouldn't have just ponied up and pay him, but also, you're heading into the spring game and everybody's going into Neyland when you just lost your starting quarterback.
Come on, Merklinger.
So I'm wondering what the feelings are going to be like for all those fans out there, where spring game's supposed to be a day of excitement, no stress whatsoever. It's not like you can win or lose. You go out, you tailgate, you watch the game, you have fun. But now it seems like there's a little bit of worry among these Tennessee fans. You don't really have a quarterback like Merklinger and McIntyre are complete unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what these guys are going to be. So Tennessee, a team that I think believed that they were going to compete to be in the college football playoff again, maybe even get themselves to an SEC championship game. Now all of that kind of in doubt as these fans roll into Rocky Top today.
Sure. But yeah, I think we need to go away with the spring training. I think a lot of teams have kind of followed suit on that. Matt Rule from Nebraska has been pretty adamant on the ending of spring games. Some other coaches as well. It's fan service. It doesn't really provide anything. It's like inviting the fans out to Titans training camp. They don't really see anything. They're not running any complex stuff. And when they are, you're not allowed to film. You're not allowed to talk about it. I got in trouble for that this past off season.
Learning lessons.
On my first day, I was videoing something, and good old Jimmy Wyatt told me not to. But it's fan service. It's the same thing essentially as a training camp. The fans, they're just there to support the team.
No, it is. And like these games are not really games anymore. It's an hour and a half long scrimmage where you've got a running clock for the entire second half. And, your starting quarterback's probably only going to play a couple of series here and there. But it is good for especially your young players. You get to get out into the stadium. If you're a true freshman who maybe enrolled early or a transfer who's coming in, you get to get out there and get to have a game-like atmosphere. But I can see why they're not televising it because, again, you have a freshman wide receiver who comes in, and if he lights it up in the spring game, you can bet there are going to be bigger programs who are going to be hopping in his Instagram DMs and saying, hey, we'll give you X amount of money to get into the spring portal and come play for us.
I don't know. My thing about spring games, I think they're still useful to some degree. I think you just have to revamp it in a different regard. Like, say you have to, I don't know, say if I'm Tennessee, right? And I'm looking at their schedule now. Say I'm going up against a team like, I don't know, Arkansas. And there's a team that is, I don't know, a G4 school or G5 school that runs a similar offense to Arkansas. Maybe I should bring them to the spring game and we have a scrimmage between another team and you get a better look at what an Arkansas team looks like on the field. And it's not really Arkansas, but you just have a better scouting report.
Well, the NCAA has shut that down. Colorado and Syracuse tried to do a scrimmage this year.
Text on my personal text line says, Jake, to your point, the Vols fans are expecting Merklinger to get a massive ovation in this spring game.
And that's what I was kind of thinking. It's like the Phillies fans with Trey Turner a couple years ago when he was struggling, and it's like, oh, let's give him a big round of applause, get his confidence up. It's like, hey, this dude was just thrust into being quarterback one. Game. Only cheers for Merklinger. I think that's probably what it's going to be. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Again, we're reacting to the breaking news that Nico Iamaleava will not be Tennessee's quarterback moving forward. The team and Iamaleava, I would say it's a mutual agreement at this point to move on from each other. Iamaleava going to try and test the portal waters, see if he can get some more money. Tennessee going to see what they can do to try and bring in a replacement. Gentlemen, I have to run. I got to get over to First Bank for the spring game today, but it's been fun.
We got someone coming on next segment.
There we go.
Oh, boy.
Enjoy.
To help us break down the news, Mr. Jared Stillman will be joining us.
Yes, I will be listening on my way over to Vanderbilt. And fun show, excited for next week with WrestleMania and, of course, getting ready for draft week. Next week, finally, our final show before the NFL draft. So I will see you then. Have a great rest of the show.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you, buddy.
Have fun out there at First Bank.
Yes. Again, 12:45 pregame right here on the game.
Well, we see
1 o'clock kickoff.
The second half throwing a touchdown, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
Who knows? If if they want to get some of the actual players out there, maybe I'll warm up the old arm.
He's got a cannon. People don't know it. Jake Lyman's got a cannon. Pavia, watch out.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Second hour, 4's Company coming up right after this here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
The man and the woman.
Force Company, 1025, 1063 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Jake Lyman has departed for the Vanderbilt spring game. Connor Newt taking the helm. Join with me, as always, is Nick Frazier, Jake Wallman behind the glass. And how about this? Breaking news, obviously, today. Nico Iamaleava is leaving Tennessee. They have parted ways. Josh Heupel confirmed it this morning. And to help us discuss this topic, the one and only host of Stillman and Company, 2 to 6 weekdays, Jared Stillman, is with us. Jared, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen, good morning. I got to tell you, I was really excited to a full Saturday of doing nothing. And then all of a sudden I saw the Nico news and I saw you guys were on and I was like, oh, thank goodness we have live programming on Breaking It Down. You guys have been doing a great job. So good to be on the program today with you guys with the big news.
Of course. Well, Jared, we'll start off easy and simple. I saw you posted this on Twitter earlier, but give us your reaction to this news. What is your general assumption of Nico leaving Tennessee, or more importantly, Tennessee parting ways with Nico?
You know, it's funny because there's different reports out there. There's Tennessee decided to move on from Nico, and then I think it's Pete Nakos and On3 that says that Nico decided to enter the portal. Whatever happened, this is a divorce between Tennessee and Nico, and it had to happen because after the shenanigans that went down yesterday, I don't think that there was really any coming back from that. And I talked to an athletic director yesterday that told me, they said, if Tennessee renegotiates with Nico after everything that's happened publicly, every single player on the team is going to be lined up outside Josh Heupel's office on Monday asking for their next pay increase, their next raise. And so that wasn't something Tennessee could get into. For me personally, I commend Josh Heupel and Danny White, the athletic director at Tennessee, because since Josh Heupel took the job, the one thing that I have been incredibly impressed with what is this, 4 seasons he's been the coach now, 5 seasons he's been the coach, is once he took the job, it was like all the extracurricular drama that Tennessee had with the Butch Jones and then the transition after Butch Jones and then Jeremy Pruitt and Fulmer and all of the extracurricular drama, the bullcrap, that had been stopped. And yeah, Tennessee would have a player get arrested here but that happens to everybody. But again, they were really focused on football. And this reminded me of something that would have happened when Butch Jones was the coach. And if Josh Heupel and Danny White didn't put their foot down today and say, okay, enough's enough, we're not going down this road, we're not doing it. If they didn't do that, I think it would have perpetuated a cycle of going back to that drama. And I don't think that's something they want. So my big reaction today is it had to happen. I don't think Nico is that good. I do think this hurts Tennessee right now to not have a quarterback, but I think it was the right decision.
You mentioned it hurts Tennessee. They don't have a quarterback right now. Jake Merklinger is probably the number one option right now. Who do you think they would go to in the portal to go after a quarterback? Would it be a G5? Would it be a team out west in the Power 5? Where do you think Tennessee would start to go after a quarterback?
So here's the hard thing for Tennessee, which is Tennessee wants to probably go out and add a quarterback or two, into the spring portal. And I'm guessing they have an extra $2 million in NIL money to work with. If I had to guess, I assume Nico doesn't get to keep the $8 million. I think he probably only gets the $4 million that he already got paid. The problem here is this: Tennessee runs a very complex offense. And so if somebody were to transfer in the spring window, which is not unheard of, Joe Milton, for instance, was able to do that and got the starting nod right away before losing it to Hendon Hooker. I think it would be tough to just go take a quarterback and say, okay, now you're going to run Josh Heupel's offense, because it's a very complex college offense. So this is where it really hurts Tennessee. If Nico had gone to them at the end of the year, and this is where Nico messed up. I don't care about Nico wanting more money. The market is the market, and if the money is out there for him, good for him. I don't think he's that good. But at the end of the year, if Nico had gone to Tennessee and said, hey, the going rate is now $4 million for a quarterback, I'm only making $2 million. I think you should pay me $2 extra million or I'm going to go into the portal. That would have given Tennessee the ability to say, okay, we're going to give you the money to keep you from going into the portal, or go in the portal and then we'll go in the portal and we'll find a quarterback to replace you. That's fine. But Nico, because I don't think Nico is worth the $4 million, Nico's trying to maximize the leverage by hitting them in the spring portal, because they don't really have the option of going out and adding a quarterback that can run this offense right away. So I think they really are stuck with Merklinger and McIntyre. And I don't know what their plan was for McIntyre, but I do think they believed that McIntyre was going to be the guy after Nico. So maybe that just accelerates the timetable. I would be surprised if they would be able to get in a spring portal quarterback and have them up to speed with the offense by the time training camp rolled around in July and August.
Jared Simmons with us here on 4's Company. So does that, to you, Jared, does that mean that this upcoming season for the Vols, just look at it as a wash?
Yeah, I think that's probably where they are. Again, with the 12-team playoff, you don't have to have an incredible season in order to get in. I think we can all agree Tennessee didn't have an incredible season last year, and they still got into the playoff, so maybe they can find a way. But the idea of beating Georgia or trying to compete in the SEC, it's hard for me to envision that happening with them not having a quarterback. And so I asked this question to Chad Withrow yesterday, because I'm not a Tennessee fan. And I said, would you be okay? Because again, all the Tennessee fans wanted Nico out yesterday. Would you be okay if this means 7-5? That you're going to have a tough season and you're going to look back on it and say, Nico screwed us and we learned our lesson about NIL and, contracts and things like that. But 7-5 and Jake Merklinger did the best he could. Would you be okay with that? He said yes. And I do think that there's a level of, even though every single day, college sports trends more in the direction of pro sports, and really in the direction of pro sports without regulation, because there is no collective bargaining agreement. There are very few rules as to what you can and cannot do. It's still college sports for the fans. And I think Tennessee fans feel incredibly disrespected by Nico Iamaleava. And so I think Tennessee fans can suck up a 7-5 season and say, hey, Nico screwed us and we learned our lesson on that. So I do think that if they have a rough season, and it's hard for me to envision them in the SEC not having a tough season without a quarterback, I do think that Tennessee fans will be okay with it. And now I think if you're Josh Heupel, who's had, I think we can all agree, a very successful tenure as Tennessee's coach, this is kind of a house money season. Because if he wins with George McIntyre or he wins with Jake Merklinger, I mean, don't we look back on that and say, wow, what a freaking coach. And he didn't need Nico. So I think this is a great opportunity for Tennessee with not a lot to lose, given the fact that most people, I think, are on their side right now.
You know, earlier in the show, Jared, I kind of hinted at, maybe Nico Iamaleava is the guinea pig for this whole NIL, renegotiating contracts and so forth. And I made the comparison later to an example of a wide receiver has the same equivalent value of a free agent wide receiver in the NFL. Do you believe that is kind of the narrative that's going to start transitioning into college athletics?
I think that the narrative is going to be, college athletics is the Wild West, and these players, without the regulations, without the collective bargaining agreement, these players can do whatever. But I don't know how much of this is a college athletics issue and a lack of regulation issue, and how much of this is a Nico got greedy and selfish issue. Because I think, with all things in life, there's what you should do and what you can do. And Nico decided to maximize his leverage to do the best he could do, as opposed to what he should have done, which is been a leader for his teammates, gotten ready for the season, been focused on football, etc. You always hear general managers in the NFL talk about, we want players that love football. And what they mean by that is we want players that are playing because they enjoy competing, not because they enjoy getting paid. We all know there's a business element to this, but ask Tom Brady what's more important, the money or the championships. And so I think it's the quality of person that you bring into your program more so than it is the regulations or the ability for kids to renegotiate or what the market value is. I truly believe that this is more so this guy, his personality, he's not what you're looking for in this era of Tennessee football. And I go back to Butch Jones. When Butch Jones was the coach, they didn't care about the quality of kid they brought in. They just wanted to see the number of stars next to the name at Rivals and 24/7. And I don't even think On3 was around them, but they just wanted to see the stars on there. And then that led to problems. At Tennessee, they bought and paid for this quarterback they thought was going to lead them to the promised land. He didn't. But they thought he could be their guy. And I think they learned, we need a quarterback who, understands his business, and we have to compensate our quarterback to be here, but our quarterback has to want to be here. I go back to what Diego Pavia did last year when they beat Alabama. Diego Pavia went to Twitter and said, hey, anybody with NIL opportunities, hit me up. Here's the phone number to call my rep right now. And then that way, if Gatorade, for instance, wanted to get Diego Pavia to pump Gatorade, then they could reach out to Diego's people and set the deal up. Diego didn't go to Clark Lee's office and say, all right, coach, I need $8 million extra or I'm out of here. Because again, it's the quality of person that you bring into your program. And I think that for what Josh Heupel has built at Tennessee, Nico doesn't fit that.
Jared, last one for you. Reports are surfacing that Oregon head coach Dan Lanning was the coach who initially contacted Josh Heupel and let them know Nico was sniffing around for a deal. What do you make of that factor playing into this whole situation? And do you think Nico heads out west or maybe finds himself at Oregon?
So I am a big fan of the Oregon football program. Very, very big fan. Dan Lanning is a very good guy. So their offensive coordinator and I went to college together, years and years and years ago.
Wow.
And I think I can say this. I sent him a text last night. I said, are you going to get the Tennessee quarterback? And he didn't text back. And he's a texter backer. Like, I texted him after they lost the Pac-12 championship to Michael Penix in Washington, and in the locker room, they text him back. We coached horribly today, that kind of stuff. So I said, you can go get the quarterback. He did not text back. My guess is Oregon is not going to play that game with Nico. Like, Nico showed his ass in this negotiation, and the way Dan Lanning runs that program and the kind of caliber of guys that they want in that program, they're not going to be interested in Nico. Now, I would not be surprised. He has to go to a Big Ten team, right? Like, if you're going to leave $2 million on the table, you're not going to the ACC, I don't think. You got to go to a school that has NIL money, and you can't go to the SEC, so it has to be the Big Ten. I've seen UCLA thrown around as a possibility. I don't know where Nico goes from here. See, here's the thing with Nico. Nico has talent. We can all agree on that, but, I mean, is Nico that good? Like,
Nah.
You think Nico's that good?
Not $5 million good, no.
I mean, so, like, is it worth it? So you're a head coach, and you know what the asking price is for Nico. He wants $4 million. So now I got to find $4 million. He's going to come in with no spring practice. Didn't play with these guys last year. He's going to have to learn a new offense, a new terminology. He's going to have to learn new receivers all in the fall practice period. And then who are we playing week 1? We might play Scarbini State week 1, and then it's Ohio State week 2. That does not seem conducive for success. And again, I know it's happened before. I got it. But I don't think Nico's that good. You know, if Tim Tebow were to hit the portal, I'd say, okay, let's give Tim Tebow $4 million, stick him at quarterback, and let's go. But Nico's not that. Nobody was even looking. Nico's draft eligible next year. And I don't hear anybody talking about Nico when it comes to next year's quarterback class. And I feel like we've done enough talking and digging on next year's quarterback class because of, do the Titans take a quarterback this year? Do they take one next year? And so we know the names, Carson Beck and Drew Aller and Arch Manning, and we don't ever hear Nico's name mentioned with those guys. So I don't know where Nico goes from here, but if I was a coach, I wouldn't want to bring Nico in and then put my job on the line with Nico. And then on top of it, what kind of leader are you getting? Look at what he's doing right now. What kind of leader are you getting if you bring Nico in when you know this is a guy that if he's, what's the old saying? Frazier, I think you know this. If they cheat with you,
they cheat without you.
Well, I was going to say they cheat on you.
Well, they cheat regardless.
I thought you were going stripper again.
Yeah, you kind of lost.
That was yesterday. Prostitute and stripper were yesterday. If they cheat on you or they cheat with you, if they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. Like that's, so you're going to bring Nico in. You already saw what he did to UT. You're going to bring him into your program? So I don't know where Nico goes from here. Maybe Nico develops into a star. I don't know. But I'm not a huge believer that Nico's going to become a huge star here. And quite frankly, if this turned into a DJ Uiagalelei situation where we never hear from him again until 3 years from now, and it's like, oh yeah, Nico. Oh yeah, he's kind of sucks. It wouldn't surprise me.
See, I look at it two ways, Jared. One way, it could be like a DJU, or it could also be like a Caleb Williams trajectory. You leave a SEC school in Oklahoma and you go out west to USC, be resurrected with Lincoln Riley, and just improves his draft stock tremendously. I think if you go to I call it a team, but a college out west at USC, you're only going to benefit your stock, if that makes sense. Because a lot of those teams out west, you get forgot about the whole season until your team's 9-3 or 10-2 going into the playoff, and you bring up and resurrect every single national media darling that's like, oh, Nico Iamaleava. Last time we heard about him was in the SEC. Now he's really tearing it up out west. I just think that's the possible trajectory we're going to see with Nico.
So I would feel that way if the competition level that he was going to go to wasn't going to be roughly the same as what he's facing now. Because, again, it feels like he has to go to the Big Ten. And I don't think that these schools in the Big 12 can afford a $4 million quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong, but to your point, I think of guys like, again, I use DJ Uiagalelei here, but he went to Oregon State and nobody watched him play quarterback. And they said he had a good year at Oregon State. I'll have to take their word for it because I don't know about you, Newt, but I didn't watch any Oregon State football when DJ Uiagalelei was the quarterback.
Not a
So
second.
they say he had a good year. So then he transfers to Florida State. Now we're watching him again. We're like, oh no, he still stinks. So with Nico, you talk about, oh, well, he'll go out west and kind of be forgotten and he'll go tear it up. it'd be one thing if this were Bo Nix, who had success at Auburn, but, he was in his fifth year. This to me is totally different, especially given the fact that he's not going to have a spring practice with all the meetings. It's going to be a new offense with new terminology. Those are hard to catch up on, especially if he goes to the Big Ten and it's like, okay, congratulations. You won the starting job here at UCLA. Week 2, Ohio State. Week 3, Michigan. Week 4, USC. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's going to be tough for Nico. Again, a quarterback who had a head coach that we know wants to throw the ball up and down the yard. It does not matter if his quarterback is Drew Lock, if it is Hendon Hooker, if it is Joe Milton. He wants to throw it up and down the yard. And last year, what did he do? Run the ball and play defense, because he did not trust his quarterback last year. So Nico's got a lot of progress to make. And I'm not convinced that he's that good. I don't think that Nico is the kind of level of player that you sacrifice what you believe in with your program in order to build around. And so because of that, Frazier, I'm not sure we'll ever hear from Nico again.
Good to know.
He is Jared Stillman of Stillman & Company. Weekdays 2 to 6. Jared, thanks a lot for this. This was fun, and hope you enjoy your Saturday and do exactly what I'm doing and not watch the Masters.
There you go. It's a tradition unlike any other. These grown men crying about drinking from a plastic cup with an Augusta logo. But
yes.
I guess that's their tradition. Boys, have a great weekend and great coverage today.
Thank you very much. He is Jared Stillman, as always. We'll come back, react to what he had to say, and get to your text here on the other side. This is 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Connor Newt, Nick Frazier. Let's give something away, Frazier. Jared just put me in a really good mood.
Let's do it.
Let's win an exclusive Jason Aldean experience. Text in the keyword Jason, that is JASON, to 615-737-1025 and receive a link to sign up for a chance to win all-inclusive tickets to the Eurostone Club at Bridgestone Arena and see Jason Aldean, plus also a chance to win $1,000 cash.
The green stuff.
Green stuff. I've sat in that Eurostone Club many, many times. Good place to sit.
Nice venue.
Nice venue. Good food. Good stuff. Again, thank you very much to Jared Stillman for hopping on with us last night. It's not often Jared takes time out of his day to come on the weekends.
Yeah.
But the news today was big enough to do it, and I took some pretty interesting nuggets away from him. Most importantly, I asked him about, there are rumors and reports that Dan Lanning was the whistleblower in this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Jared said he texted Will Stein, who is the offensive coordinator over at Oregon, and he says he's usually a texter back. Did not answer when he asked if Nico is a potential target for Oregon. That tells me a lot. That tells me Oregon is not going to play into the whole drama. I don't think they have any interest in Nico. And Oregon has a solid transfer they just grabbed last year. I believe it was the kid from UCLA, whose name I'm blanking on, but they also dominate recruiting and have some 5-star talent coming in. Sorry, I'm reading these texts.
No, you're good. No, to the point, though, about the whole Oregon thing and the Dan Lanning being the whistleblower, to me, I think it's only just – I don't look at it as Oregon going after Nico. I think it's more of bringing the attention to the Big Ten. I think it's Dan Lanning saying, hey, my college, university I'm associated with needs more attention. And not just Oregon itself, the brand, the league, the Big Ten, the conference itself needs more attention. Because the only other conference, in my opinion, that's competing with the SEC is the Big Ten.
Right.
And the ACC is looked at as the in-law or the cousin that meets them at the Thanksgiving dinner once a year. Like, that's how I look at those top 3 conferences. So if you go and see if Nico's going somewhere out west, more than likely it's a Big Ten team. More than likely.
I think he has to go Big Ten. Jared pointed out best. Where is he going to go? NC State in the ACC? That is a major step down from a top 5 SEC program. I think at least if he goes to UCLA, he's getting Big Ten money. He's getting California money. If he goes to a North Carolina school or Florida State or somewhere like that, he's not going to get the money he's asking for. I think the only way he gets his $4 million, maybe his price increases as time goes on in the portal, is he goes out west. He goes to a Southern California or a UCLA or somewhere like that. Texter on our text line says, Mike from Pennsylvania, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I agree, Nico is talented, but after last season, it was eye-opening. Josh had him hand the ball off and play field position. The previous season, he let Milton sling it. Josh 100% didn't trust Nico games. To that, I respond, why should he? I go back to the Arkansas game. Nico had 20 seconds to go win the game. He takes all the time in the world, scrambles out of bounds, game's over, Arkansas wins. He's not a trust. He did some freshman things. You have to keep that in mind. I know he was redshirted, and it was technically his second year in the program, but it was first year starting. He's going to do freshman things.
First year as a leadership as a quarterback, for sure. And to that issue, Connor, it's to the point I don't think he's mature enough to lead a Power 5 school or now Power 4 school to a national championship. And if that's what he wants to do, or if it's more about the bag, that's the decision he has to make as a person. Is it more about the money, or is it more about the reputation and the resume I'm building to go to the next level? And to me, I don't think he wants to go to the next level.
I don't think so either. Judging by what he's been saying the past few days, what his daddy has been saying to the media about the media, I think he wants the money. And when you chase the money like that in college, you don't take the next step. You don't become an NFL level quarterback. Not at least to the level that people are expecting you to be. When Nico signed with Tennessee, it was like the second coming of Jesus is signing with the Tennessee Volunteers. He underperforms, wants more money, and now the entire fan base hates on him. Maybe for rightful reason. I would probably be in that camp too. I don't think Nico is as good as we ever put him on the pedestal to be.
Right. And I think you could credit Tennessee Vols fans for that. No offense to Vols fans, but every year, I mean, the funny joke is every Vols fan goes, "This is our year. This is our year." Like to some degree, sure, but it's to a smaller degree of maybe it's your year to win SEC, maybe it's your year to win 9 games. It's not your year to win the
It is,
national
in fact,
championship.
a year.
It's a year, not the year. And I think with the whole Nico hype surrounding this university for so long, everybody got into a trance of like, yes, this is our guy. And then when something like this happens, it's like in WWE, somebody turns heel, like John Cena.
Yeah.
You're like, somebody just pulled the rug from under me. I feel like I've lost a family relative. Like that's what it is. That's exactly what it feels like for Vols fans, I'm pretty sure. And now they're all on the same page of time to turn to Jake, Merklinger?
Mm-hmm.
What a name. Merklinger. I don't know anything about the guy. That's
He played,
exactly what a Vols fan probably thinks right
He
now.
got some playoff reps last year.
Is that so?
Against Ohio State.
After Nico's helmet shattered into 1,000 pieces?
That's the only thing I know about Jake Merklinger. We'll step aside, come back. I think I'm done with the Nico talk for the day.
Okay.
We've said everything we need to say. We've been on it for about an hour and a half. And my segment has been delayed about an hour. Newt's Notes when we come back.
Talk to us.
102.5, 106.3 The Game. Forest Company brought to you by LPL Financial Nashville and Patrick Conger. Investment advice for you in the short term and for the future. Let me read this as well. This week's Nashville's best deal is from 12 Stones Crossing Golf Club in Goodlettsville. They offer 18 championship holes spanning over 6,800 yards with the meandering Madison Creek at its centerpiece. Get half off a $50 gift card now while supplies last at theGameNashville.com/deals. 4's Company, 1025, 1063 The Game. It's a mouthful, man. Connor Newt, Nick Frazier, Jake Walman behind the glass. Newt's notes. I didn't really have anything planned today. And it's a good thing that happened.
Yep.
Because we spent a lot of time on today's breaking news that Nico Iamaleava is leaving Tennessee to hit the transfer portal. So what we're going to do here is I had question of the day anyway.
Sure.
So we'll just do that.
All right.
Question of the day was, if you could travel back in time to any moment in sports history, any iconic play across any sports, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever you want to do, where would that be? Nick Frazier, go ahead.
I don't know. I've been all over the place about this. I've had a similar answer to this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but I'd probably say 2006, July 9th, Italy versus Germany in the World Cup, or excuse me, Italy versus France in the World Cup. That was a pretty cool moment. Baseball kind of kindles to my brain, but I'll stick with football. I got to witness this in person. I would love to relive it when Mississippi State beat Auburn to be the first team in the college football playoff rankings.
Dak Prescott, baby.
That was an incredible day. It was a CBS game, a 3:30 game. Something about it. I think I'll never forget this play. It was, I think they're on the 43-yard line, 3rd and 7, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
this was 2013, 14,
yeah,
something like that.
And Dak Prescott hit De'Runnya Wilson over the middle for a deep touchdown, and it was just an incredible play. And then it started to rain in the fourth quarter, and I'll never forget Dak Prescott kneeled the ball and just ran towards the student section. That was the same game my brother snuck me into the student section. It was awesome. As a I guess I was in grade school, I still think. Yeah, I might have been in 8th grade or so. My brother snuck me in. It was probably the best experience I've had.
2013, I was 9.
I had a coffee mug thrown at me.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, from like the 3rd tier. It was pretty crazy. But
was it
fun.
Something you did?
No,
or?
I didn't do it. They just were so excited. They threw a coffee mug from the top tier. Yeah. Luckily, it only scraped the back of my head, but it was crazy. So, witnesses.
I have so many. NBA Finals, 1998, Game 6.
So before you were even born?
Before I was born, Michael Jordan hits the last shot on the Utah Jazz, which he did not push off, by the way, to win his final NBA championship. Michael Jordan's my favorite player of all time. I didn't live to see him, but Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. I will fight you to the death if you disagree.
Okay.
That's the first time I think I've heard you speak positively about the NBA in a long time.
The old NBA, I used to love the NBA when I was a kid. I loved Derrick Rose, the Kentucky in me. I loved all of those guys. I loved John Wall, Anthony Davis, all those guys, which is another one, 2012 national championship. I remember it. I was 8, so I don't remember the game much, but I remember watching Dad. One of the few times I've seen him cry, actually, was when they rolled into the bus on Rupp Arena with the championship. That was pretty special. 2011 World Series Game 6. I was how old? I was 7.
Yeah,
but I remember it, and that's why David Freese after that game became one of my favorite players, because he wasn't good.
Yeah,
like he wasn't a great player.
He was your role player,
but he was a hero after that. And I had his jersey, and I remember going to Busch a lot the next year, and every time he struck out on the play, I'll get him next time, David. Non-sports, WWE. I mean, if I could go back and watch Seth Rollins cash in 2015 Money in the Bank, that was my first WrestleMania. I remember. If I could watch that again, that would be, as an adult now, it'd be special. Even John Cena turning heel. That's by far the most shocking. Text on our text line agrees with me. Cody Rhodes returned to WWE at WrestleMania. That pop would have been amazing to hear. That's back when I started watching again. I stopped around COVID because you take away the environment, it's not worth watching.
Right.
But then they went to Peacock and it was free to watch. And I was like, you know what? WrestleMania is on. I'll watch it. And I fell in love with it all over again. So wrestling forever will be in a heart. I was going I'll preface this by saying I was going to rant about how I do not care about the Masters, but that's not fair because I love wrestling and a lot of people don't care about wrestling. I know you guys care about golf. Robbie Stanley would probably nail my head to a wall if I talked about how little I care about the Masters, but you guys, you got your thing. Gunnar on our text line says Bud Dupree's pick 6 to win versus South Carolina and knock off the old ball coach at the Commonwealth. He was there in the end zone, second row. Oh, that was awesome. Cubs winning the World Series. We can forget about that one. Kobe's last championship. That was 2010?
Maybe
9?
8, maybe. I have to look that up.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good time. Jake Wallman, what is your moment?
I have 2.
All right.
And so the first one is I've always wanted to see the Music City Miracle live.
Yeah. That one came to mind.
I remember my uncle,
the game where everyone in Nashville was.
Yeah. My uncle said that he was watching from his kitchen, oddly enough, not at the game. And he just remembers thinking like, they had a pretty good year, first year officially in Nashville as the Titans. And
right.
They had a good year, but they're not going to get it done. And then they return the kickoff back for a touchdown. The most random one, though, we were talking about baseball to open the show.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, going back to see Babe Ruth call his shot in, I think it was the 1926 World Series.
Yep. Roll up in your car with the white wall tires. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love that. Your little dial radio.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty neat.
I mean, selfishly, if I could go back and just watch John Wall at Kentucky in person, he's always going to be my favorite Wildcat because he was the first one I can really remember getting into. I was 6 when he was playing, but I remember that team. If I could go back now as an adult and watch him just glide down the floor, that'd be amazing.
I get to witness him one game. It's honestly the only game I really remember vividly when they played Vanderbilt. I think it was 2011, 2012. And it was DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall versus Vanderbilt and this Kevin Stallings team. I think it was with
09, 010.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I think John Jenkins was on this team.
Yep.
Yeah. Jeffrey Taylor. Brad
they were good.
Tinsley. Yeah.
They were a tournament team.
Vandy was a really good team that year. And all I remember is John Wall crossing up somebody, going in for a layup, or he was just lobbing it up to DeMarcus Cousins. I'm like, these two guys are legit. Like, it was so much fun to watch. It was popcorn material.
Maybe not my favorite team ever, but John Wall is by far my favorite player to ever lace up the blue.
He's got a song after him.
Yeah, he does. Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dan is on our line with an answer to our question of the day. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hey, guys. You were just talking about the Oregon Ducks, but not maybe in a favorable light. But I'm a huge Ducks fan, and I was at the Rose Bowl when it was Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, and I happened to be surrounded by Florida State fans, and they were so cocky. If you guys remember, they'd won the championship the year before, and it was like 18 games in a row or some nonsense. Mm-hmm. They were so cocky, and to see that fumble and all the things live, and the stealth bomber flying over the stadium, it was one of the coolest experiences. Top 5 of my life for sure. I would love to relive that again.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Dan. That's great.
I will say he makes a good point about the Rose. I think in general, the Rose Bowl,
I'd love to go to the Rose Bowl.
There's something about it, and he's right with the stealth bombers flying over, and especially a spectacle when you have 2 top teams that at the time it was pick 1 and 2 for quarterbacks going into the next year's NFL draft. Like that is something you want to see firsthand. And I mean, luckily for Dan, good for you, man. I would have loved to see that in person.
Let me say this. If I threw shade at the Oregon Ducks, I sincerely apologize.
On this show, Dan, if you listen long enough, save the Ducks.
Coach Newt, if you don't know, is a diehard Oregon Duck. He lives and bleeds green,
yeah,
and blue when he goes back to Lexington after he gets bored with the Ducks. But I will never openly speak bad about the Oregon Ducks. I have come to love the Oregon Ducks. I'm not going to claim myself as a Ducks fan because that's not fair. I will always bleed blue, but the Ducks, I find myself rooting for a lot.
Yeah.
So
they're a likable team.
How could you not?
Right. All the uniforms. I mean, and I believe that year, I think Oregon dominated Florida State that year.
Yeah, he did.
Because he talked about the fumble with Jameis and all that. Like, I think they won like 50 something to
21.
Let me look it up.
That was 2014. I think they went to the national championship that year, if I'm not mistaken, to play Ohio State.
59-20. Yeah, Oregon won that game.
They went to the national championship to play Ohio State, and then Cardell Jones just
unleashed him.
Decided to be a good quarterback.
Decided to be a good quarterback.
I'm trying to think of other ones, like Aaron Harrison for me against Michigan.
Yeah.
Hitting a buzzer beater. This is the part where he always hits it. Unbelievable, whatever they say. That would be cool. I'm thinking about ones behind I'd love to go back and watch Jerry Rice.
Oh, yeah.
From the 80s. I'm sure that's something Joe would say. Jerry, that whole 49ers squad, like that's peak football.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never see an offense run like that again, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones that come to mind. Not before my time, probably during my time that I probably need to revisit. I mean, everything for me kind of gravitates towards baseball.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen in person Barry Bonds.
Oh, yeah. Or even go back further. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
You ever seen that 30 for 30?
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
I would honestly would love to have seen a true Yankees-Red Sox rivalry at Fenway and or Yankee Stadium. Old Yankee Stadium, that is. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Have Pedro Martinez on the mound. Like the true, like there was that whole Netflix thing that came out where he's talking about the true rivalry in baseball. I would have loved to have seen that. Like I don't think in today's day and time, we've talked about money with Nico and everything. I think it's so much of a financial security for a lot of these players that they just kind of lose that rivalry aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's not that grit to the sport anymore. But some people still have it. Manny Machado picks his fights every once in a while.
And his nose.
That too.
615-737-1025. You can still answer our question of the day. What moment in sports would you like to go back and watch in person? We'll get to some answers on the other side. Plus, we'll make some picks to round out a pretty busy show. That's next. 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This just brought my adrenaline way down, and now it's back up.
Yeah.
4's
It's a
Company.
roller coaster.
4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The Braves, the Atlanta Braves country road trip is coming to town and teaming up with the Nashville Predators and 102.5 The Game. Join us at the BetMGM Sports Lounge in Bridgestone Arena on Wednesday, April 16th for a Braves watch party as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays at noon. There will be awesome giveaways like a chance to win Braves tickets to a game of your choice every 30 minutes, plus Braves hats, t-shirts, and autographed baseballs. The first 15 people in the door will win a pair of Preds tickets to that night's game. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/events. All right. This has been a busy show.
Indeed.
Let's go very, very quickly. Picks. Speaking of the Preds, Golden Knights, Jonathan Marchessault's return to the, I believe it's called the Palace, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something
that's
night-worthy.
nighty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Knights. I think the Knights win. Sorry, Preds. I think the Knights win 4-2, and I think Marchessault gets on the board and Forsberg has the other.
Okay. Jake Wallman, Preds, or VGK as they call them.
I'm going to go with the Knights as well. I'll say 3-2, but I like the idea that Marchie gets a goal in his return to Vegas.
Yeah, I love Jonathan Marchessault to get a goal tonight, or at least a couple of assists. I'm going to go Preds here. I think the road to 30 wins is alive and well, and they need to win 2 of the next 3 to win to get there. Plus, they're locked in as the third worst team with the third best odds to land the number 1 pick. Nothing they do will hurt them. So give me the Preds. I think they squeeze this one out. I'll say 4-3.
Oh,
it's going to be a high scoring game, I think. I don't know why.
Just feeling it.
Gut feeling. Yeah. All right. This goes against pretty much everything I say. Let's pick a Masters champion, shall we?
Give me back-to-back Scotty Scheffler.
Scheffler?
Yeah, Scheffler.
Scheffler.
Yeah, I think Scotty Scheffler, even though he's, 3rd or 4th in the rankings right now, I mean, you have other guys above him like Rory and DeChambeau, but there's something about Scotty. Even though yesterday he had I'd say a horrible round, he finished even, which is crazy. He had 5 bogeys and five birdies, and he ended up being even for the day. So I'm going with Scotty.
Jake Wallman, give me a man that putts balls into a hole.
Yeah, there's kind of a log jam with a lot of people tied for 5th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Justin Rose.
Oh, okay.
The leader. He hangs on and wins the Masters.
Wow, that would. As I understand, I've been told he is a perennial choker. So maybe he gets it done this year. I'm going to go with America's Patriot.
Oh.
A true-blooded American. I'm going to go with Bryson DeChambeau.
Mr. Live Golfer.
Live Golf. I'm going to go with the enemy, but also a Patriot. Give me Bryson.
If my memory serves me right, he would be the first Live Golfer to win the Masters.
Did Koepka win it?
I take it back. Yeah, he may have. Never mind. My memory's not great. So continuing with our picks. Excuse me.
Yeah, because Scheffler won it in 22.
Yeah.
Koepka in 23, I think.
Let me look it up real quick.
And then Scheffler in 24. There's probably some old man yelling at me right now.
That'd be Robbie.
Yeah.
He's not an old man.
Joel has corrected me on our text line. It's called the Fortress, not the Palace.
The Fortress.
I was
okay.
close.
I was about to say, wait a minute. So, okay. What you got for a third one? Is it a wild card?
Well, we're already over anyway, so let's do it. Wild card, just go for it.
Okay, I'll take Nashville SC. They'll rebound tonight against Real Salt Lake. Say they win 3-0. 3-0.
3-0.
Yep.
I love how soccer calls it nil.
Yeah, 3-0. I think this team needs a good rebound win, and they need it bad because they need to get up in the standings pretty quick.
All right.
Connor?
Nick Frazier taking Nashville SC. I'm going to go over to the NCAA Men's Hockey Championship. Boston University in Western Michigan. I think Western Michigan locks down their first ever NCAA title in program history.
Okay.
If you guys didn't know, that's called the Frozen Four.
The Frozen Four, yes.
What you got, Wallman?
The Braves, the Rockies, and the White Sox are all tied for the worst record in the MLB. Braves need a win tonight to stop that streak. Let's go Braves.
Okay.
Let's go Braves.
All right, that'll do it for us here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stay tuned. Got a lot coming up. Vanderbilt spring game coming up. That's where Jake Lyman is headed right now as the official sideline reporter. He does a lot for the Cats, I hear, though. Preds in action tonight. Pregame begins at 8. Puck drop at 9 as they take on the Vegas Golden Knights. Max Hers will have that with you. But as for now, for Connor Newt, myself, for Nick Frazier, for Jake Wallman behind the glass, this has been 4's Company on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
See ya.